Welcome to The Real Look. I'm Bruce Hardy.
And I'm Chase Williams.
I'm so excited to introduce this episode's Northern Lights guest, Liz Landry, leader of the KW talent community. Liz joined Keller Williams as a brand new agent in 2006 and leveraged her retail management background to grow a high-producing sales team very quickly. In 2010, she moved into MAPS coaching and has spent more than a decade working with teams inside of Keller Williams to grow their businesses to new levels. Liz's focus in coaching is to help teams have the best people possible in their organization and create cohesive teams through the people in them. Liz is passionate about helping others succeed, which inspired her to launch KW Talent in 2022, a community dedicated to the leadership and structure of the people in your organization. Please enjoy this conversation with Liz Landry. Well, g'day, Liz. Welcome to The Real Look. Where does today's podcast find you?
I am in Key Largo, Florida, actually.
Beautiful Key Largo, Florida. So, Liz, we all have a journey. We have a life before real estate. So give us a little bit of your story.
So I actually got into real estate when I was 23 years old. It was 2006 in Jacksonville, Florida. Not necessarily the best time to get into real estate for those of you that have followed the real estate market. I was brand new. I came from retail management. I knew nothing about selling houses, but I knew a lot about running businesses. And I decided real estate was going to be a great thing that would help me see daylight again for the first time in many years. And so I got my real estate license, joined in June of 2006, brand new agent with Keller Williams, actually.
Okay. So 2006, ominous timing.
Especially in Florida. We were already on that slippery slope downward at that time.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk to us a little bit about that. I mean, getting in when you did and then going through the shift.
You know, I didn't know any better. That was kind of the beauty and the blessing of getting in 2006. Everyone was talking about how hard it was and that, you know, people weren't buying houses and selling houses quite as much as they were in 2004 and 2005. And it wasn't quite the boom market. And it was the only market I knew. So I attended all the training possible, did everything I could. I was an absolute sponge. If you remember Camp 443, Bruce, that was my my second day with Keller Williams. I was like, we've got this brand new training. It's called Camp 443. And I just absorbed everything I could and didn't have any choices. I had left a previous career, again, 2006, and had to pay my mortgage, right? That was it. It was get listings, sell houses, or be in the rest of the group with everybody in 2006 and 2007 in Florida that wasn't paying their bills. And that was not really an option for me. So I sold some houses.
That's awesome, Liz. What did those results look like for you? I mean, it sounds like you were going against the grain of what everyone else was experiencing and giving into. What did that look like for you in the first several years?
Well, I discovered that retail management and real estate sales were two wildly different things because while I knew how to run a business, I honestly wasn't a very good salesperson. I didn't enjoy the sport of sales, and it took me a long time to get over that hurdle. And when you get into everything, when it's immediately hard and you rely on your sphere of influence, and yet you're living in a city where you don't have a sphere of influence because I had just moved there, things look different and difficult. And so honestly, for my first 6 months, I was probably the worst real estate agent you'd ever met. Like you probably would have fired me if I was on your team. I kind of bucked the system. I was all about learning and education because I knew I didn't know what I didn't know, but I didn't implement really well. And so I really fought the system for the first 6 months, as many folks do as they get into real estate. But as the bank account kept going down and down and down, the pressure kept going up and up and up. And one day I put on my shoes, walked outside in the 100-degree weather and said, I guess I'm going to knock doors because I don't have any listings. I don't have any sales. And I took my first listing by knocking doors. I asked him, I said, why did you hire me? And he said, if you're willing to knock doors in that heat, you're going to be working really hard to sell my house. And I took an expired listing in what later became my farm. And that process repeated multiple times over the next year because despite my first 6 months, I wasn't going to let real estate beat me. I was going to beat real estate. And so I did.
So what did you do during that market? I mean, you know, a lot of us had moved into REO and short sale and doing that. And of course, Florida was heavily impacted. So did you go down that path?
So we worked mostly short sales, honestly. I think by the end of my first full year, so probably about 18 months in real estate. So that was what, end of 2007. Equity sales were starting to be few and far between. And then 2008, we had all the financial uproar. And then there was not a single equity sale left in the area that I worked. And so I had just built my team. I had hired an assistant. I had full-time admin. I had a buyer's agent. Every sale we had disappeared. And it was gone for the next 5 months. We had 0 closings all of a sudden because everything that was an equity sale was no longer. It just sunk. And so every closing then went, okay, now get it back under contract. And it's going to be 3 months till closing, 4 months till closing. And eventually our average time from contract to close was the same amount of time it would take to grow a human in your body. It was 9 months contract to close. And so it was a rough year in 2008 and 2009 for us. And that's just where we started, making money. We adapted. We had to. There were no other choices. And I remember teaching in Canada one time and said, oh, I remember my last equity to sale. And I said, well, what's an equity sale? I said, a house where someone has equity in it. It's not a short sale. And they looked at me and went, well, what's a short sale? I said, a house that doesn't have any equity and is probably 5 to 6 digits in the wrong direction. And I remember the look on their faces of just being shocked. And I thought, man, I wish I had sales like that. Right.
Well, I got to ask a quick question here, and that is the mindset, right? Going into this place where all of a sudden, bang, everything turns upside down, nothing for 5 months. I mean, it would be easy to just curl up in the corner in the fetal position and suck your thumb and sob uncontrollably. What was going through your mind as you made that transition?
It was hard, make no mistake. It was not like I woke up and everything was sunshine and rainbows. Every day was a grind. And it was, you have to show up, you have to do the activities that you know will work, you have to seek advice, you have to seek training because the market was constantly moving. And you have to know and trust that if you do the right activities, those performance indicators will eventually lead to the right successes. There were definitely days I probably wanted to throw in the towel when closings would fall out, bills would mount up, right? Because payroll doesn't stop getting paid at any point. And so when things would go wrong or a bank would shift and all of a sudden shut down and that lending was gone and you have to move your buyers to another bank, which was pretty common in those years, you just had to make do. I was very lucky to have great teachers. Bruce, I've attended plenty of your classes. Gene Rivers is my OP at the time, and having a lot of people that you can follow and learn from, and frankly, hiring great coaches. I hired my first coach in 2008. I doubled down and I said, all right, it's do or die time. If I'm going to do it, I got to go. There were definitely days I showed up to the call kicking and screaming. And then after I threw myself my pity party at, an exorbitant amount of money per minute, I would get to work because those were the options. Either get to work or get out of the business. And I got to work.
Great choice, Liz. So I want to ask you about the part of your journey you touched on briefly was that you kind of went down this road of leverage and started to build a team around you. And that's common, at least in our world, right? With top producers, they realize that at some point they run out of hours in the day, but they haven't run out of ambition or what they're capable of. Tell us kind of what prompted you to pursue building a team and leverage and some of your experience in doing that.
I was very lucky in my previous career of retail management that I worked in environments where having leverage allowed me to do what I needed to do, right? It allowed me to run and build businesses. And so I had come from a background of that. What I knew when I got busy in real estate, the first year, most of my sales were actually listings. They weren't buyers, which is kind of contradictory to what we see most people end up being, which I was really excited about. Great, listings. This is what I'm supposed to do. But it wasn't for lack of trying with the buyers. I was signing buyers. I was working with buyers. And then they would ghost me and they would disappear. And what I realized is I'm not good at this. So my options were double down on where I'm good and hire somebody to do what I'm not good at, or make myself really good at this thing that I'm not good at and continue to work harder. I read the MREA. I had the mentors. I knew how to build businesses. I took the risk and I doubled down. I actually hired my buyer's agent and my first admin on the very same day because the Red Book tells me hire your admin first. And so I said, okay, I'll hire my admin first by a couple of minutes. Wouldn't recommend making that hiring choice again, by the way. I would hire the admin and work up to the buyer's agent. But when you're 23, 24 years old, you think you know everything. And despite those people who have made mistakes before you, you still continue with your own mistakes. And so I did. I did that and I hired leverage, and that allowed me to go to the next level, truthfully, right? I had an amazing administrative assistant who just took all the files, took all the paperwork, took all the things that I was naturally really bad at off of my plate, and I could go be a listing agent and I could train my buyer's agent. Because the thing is, I knew, because I'd been to all the training, how to be a buyer's agent. I just wasn't naturally very good at it. So thankfully, I was able to then instill that and send them through the same trainings that I had done through KW, and they became a great buyer's agent, which was miraculous because I was not.
Liz, how long did you stay in production before you decided to move into coaching?
I was in production probably about 3 years before I realized that that was not going to be my long-term path. I didn't make that transition quite yet. That was in 2010. But it was about early 2009 where I said, I was on the ALC, I was teaching classes in my market center, I had become a KWU instructor. Like, I loved teaching. I loved going and seeing the light bulb moment in the class where someone just got it. See, I see the look on your face, Bruce. You know that moment.
Oh, yeah, love that.
I loved the stories 3 months later of, you said this thing and it changed my career, right? It changed my production. And so I knew that was a route I wanted to go. My coach at the time was a fantastic coach, loved him to death, amazing, Glenn Neely, one of our MAPS coaches. And he basically came to me one day and said, you want to do all these things. Have you thought about actually coaching? I was like, well, I'm not qualified to be a coach. What are you talking about? I can't be a coach. And so I looked into it and said, well, what can I do to start this path? People have been asking me to coach them, but at my core, I didn't know how to do that yet. And so that's really where that journey began. And it was late 2010 that I stepped into coaching as a role with MAPS. So I've been with MAPS for 13 years.
I'm so glad you shared that, right? Because you don't just show up one day and say, I'm going to be a coach and coach. Or you might do that, but you're not going to be very effective.
I'm not going to be very good at it.
So what was some of that process, that path for you to ultimately become a coach and a great coach, by the way? I mean, you don't get to do it for as long as you've been doing it if you're not, right?
It was interesting because I started with, all right, I know how to teach. I know how to train. I've done the KWU certifications, train the presenter 2. I'm like, okay, I've got this. And then I started studying what I was hearing on my coaching calls, like my coaching calls that I was on the receiving end of. And I started finding these patterns. What does this actually look like to be a coach? And so when I was talking to Glenn, I said, well, what's it actually look like to be a coach? He said, well, you got to go to coaching skills camp. Of course, we still host to this day. Okay, great. I'll go to coaching skills camp. And that's when I realized I knew nothing about coaching. It was so far over my head, but it gave me the building blocks to start that of coaching actually has models, just like real estate has models. Coaching has systems, just like real estate has systems. Coaching is not knowing the answers to everything and giving people answers. It's coming from curiosity and helping people discover the answers, right? And it was this entirely different way of looking at business where I didn't tell you what to do. I helped you figure out what to do. And I started picking up coaching clients, I air quote that. I started coaching people from my market center. I was on the ALC, I was coaching my team members, and I noticed what was the good trends in conversations and what were the bad ones. When I told somebody what to do, they didn't do it. They never did it. Yet if I helped them discover the path they needed to go down, it was amazing how they would actually do it and be successful in it and reflect on it and see the impact. But if I just came out and said, look, what you need to do is call 20 people a day, every day until you get a listing, and then you take the listing and you keep repeating the process. Yeah, I know what to do. And it was just a different thing. So when I started with MAPS officially in 2010, it was the end of 2010, so it was about an 18-month journey. I was able to come in and use those skills that I had honed over the last year and a half. And frankly, I probably still wasn't very good those first couple of years. But you get better, you learn more, you get exposure, and you pour into self-development, and you have great coaches.
Hang tight, we'll be right back. We are supported by Keller Williams Command. With Command, you'll take your real estate team into the future with access to manage every aspect of your business in one easy-to-use dashboard. With full CRM capabilities, marketing tools, transaction management, reporting, and more, Command is your one-stop shop to help you cultivate a lifetime relationship with your clients from lead to close. Explore your options at technology.kw.com today.
So Liz, you just gave us some techniques even and some of the lessons that you learned to be an incredible coach. And I'm tempted to ask you what makes a great real estate coach, but given your experience, I want to ask you what makes a great coaching client?
A great coaching client is somebody who's going to approach a situation knowing that they don't know everything, and they will come from a curiosity standpoint. We always talk about, as a coach, you have to come from curiosity, right? You can't impart your bias, your judgment, your ideas of what's right. You have to come from curiosity. Same thing as a coaching client. You have to come to a coaching session able to go down different paths and to allow yourself to think in a capacity that you don't have to have the immediate answer, right? Like the snap of your fingers, you're not going to figure out a problem. You have to come from the curiosity of discovering a problem. If we're not going to do that, it's not going to be a good coaching call for somebody, right? They're going to shut down on that. And that's not always a really comfortable process for people. If they're not used to it, that can be very uncomfortable.
Tell us about this journey into building a community, KW Talent. What was the genesis of that, right? You're having this incredibly successful coaching career, one of the best we have at MAPS, and then KW Talent. What caused that?
13 years of coaching, you learn a lot of things. And one of the key things you learn is there's not a whole lot of problems that businesses actually have in our industry. It's either you have an activities issue, you have a systems and processes issue, or you have a people issue. That's it. And those actually kick in at certain levels, right? As a single agent, that let's just say 10 million and below at an average price point, you have an activities issue. You are doing all of the things that you can do, and you are probably dropping the ball on some things and not really doing any of them very effectively, which is why you make your first hire and leverage those things off. When you hit that $25 million mark-ish, again, average price point, you have to duplicate everything you've done inside of other people. Your systems now begin to speak for your performance, not necessarily your personal ability to sell a house. People are loyal to your products and your standards, not necessarily you as a person. So it's all about those systems and processes at that point. And then when you hit about 40 or 50 million, and you guys have probably seen this, we hit the people ceiling, where unless we've got a great few people below us, we can't get past that level because you can no longer muscle the business past that point as a really great real estate agent. And for years of coaching, we would see this happen. People would hire a key role, especially a leadership role, like a director role or a lead agent role, whatever it might be. And it would work out great for about 6 months and the position would turn. And these agents would keep hitting their head on that natural ceiling of achievement for year after year after year. In about year 4, they would burn out. And they would just kind of say, you know what? I was more profitable at 30 million with a really great EA or DOO and a transaction coordinator and a buyer's agent. I'm going to go back to that because this building a business thing is not for me. And they would revert. Now, that's the right answer for some people, but that's not always what somebody wanted to do, and that wasn't their goal. And when looking at it, conversations were the same. We found that fundamentally most people who started building a team were really amazing salespeople and real estate agents. They did not come from a hiring background. They did not come from an HR background. They did not come from a people background. They were really great real estate agents that kept hiring leverage because they needed it to keep going and being a bigger business. But their ability to build business through sales was outpacing their leadership quotient, basically.
Okay, like you said, there's activities, there's systems and processes, and then there's people. So what was the impetus for you to say, you know what, I want to lead this. I want to go take KW Talent and really make it something?
I found a niche, right? When you look at things, you find a niche and you find the type of problem you like to solve. If you have to wake up every day and solve a particular problem, what is it? Part of that problem solving stems from my background before I got into this, where I was hiring, developing, and promoting people into other positions, right? That's what I did in retail management. I would turn around stores that were unprofitable, hire people, build them up, send them out to the next place. And that's what I was good at. I was good at getting those things there. Now, for no rhyme or reason, probably luck of the draw, but I had the background. And so I knew the importance of building people up. I also knew that if I had someone quit or go away, my life became more painful. Watching this happen in team after team after team and realizing we just didn't have enough. We had enough when teams for an MREA team were 30 million. What about 200 million, right? The amount of people you need in leadership roles and how long it takes to develop them into that. We weren't developing them quick enough. And so I found that over years, my coaching schedule was honing into the same type of problem. It was the people problem. And when we could solve that problem, the businesses would grow, and they would grow fantastically. They would achieve their goals. The rainmakers were happy. The people in the teams were happy, and they were able to hit all of those things. And when we looked at it, the reality is I love solving those problems, and I could bring so much to the table, and I could do it until 10 o'clock at night. But there was only one of me. So we looked at it and said, well, how do we get this to everybody? What does this look like? How many people in our company need this type of conversation, this environment, to take things further than just the career visioning process? Career visioning is the foundation. And yet, what do we do all this other day-to-day management, leadership, maintenance, development with these people? How do we now take this and make it bigger? And that's where KW Talent kind of came from. It was the pain points of these larger teams. We did focus group after focus group. We did interview after interview. And it was always the people that were the problem. It was also always the people that were the solution. And so we created an environment, KW Talent, to help fix those problems and to help create the education and the environment to allow people to grow these businesses through other people at an incredibly high level.
That's awesome. So you found this niche and you started to realize that this was going to be the pathway for delivering the solution to the right people. How's the growth of KW Talent gone, and what specific value can people expect to get from being part of KW Talent should they find themselves with that same challenge that we know so many do?
Well, the reality is we have two main parts to it right now. So much more to come, which we're not going to tell on this yet because it is not ready for release. I know.
Come on, we're going to break some news.
You will hear more at Family Reunion. You just got to wait till Vegas. We have two key parts to it right now. We have advanced workshops, and we've got our community membership. The community membership is small, digestible learning sessions and really camaraderie, conversation every day from the moment you make your first hire to the mega teams doing $100 million a year in sales, right? Like we cover all of those things. And we've got learning sessions every month. We've got masterminds every month. We take apart small topics and we expand upon them. So when we need something solved, it's a very easy thing to go learn. I don't want to sit through an 8-hour class always. Sometimes as a busy rainmaker, I got 20 minutes. You get this half an hour block in my schedule, I can utilize 20 minutes of it. And so we're very particular to make sure a lot of our learning lessons are on demand, 20 minutes or less, on a very specific topic. So you're in, you're out, you get your value, and you get exactly what you need out of it. And that's a different approach than everything that we've done in the past, because a lot of times we sit in a class for 2 days and we get so much information, and yet we can't possibly implement, digest, process. And in the moment when we've got an issue we might need to work through within a team member, let's say they're off track to goal, how do I get them back on goal, and how do I actually approach that conversation? 20 minutes allows them to really dig into it, where there might not be a class they can get to in person for months, right? And then does that schedule align? So we created an on-demand learning environment with live sessions also added in on a weekly basis.
I love this. And, we always say, what you focus on expands. And to have a community where people are focused on this leverage and talent conversation, because like you said, they're the problem, but they're also the solution, right? I think that's the key there. That's outstanding. I'm just so excited for people who want to actually go and build these big businesses that now they have this community to go do it through.
It's even the single agents who are leveraging with their first admin or second admin, right? It can take you anywhere from that very beginning, which some people want to stay and they say, I just need the support on transactions and administrative, and I'm going to be a rock star solo agent. Great. Or you want to take it all the way to a mega expansion team? That's great too. It covers the whole gauntlet.
Well, and a lot of us hire sort of accidentally. Speaking for myself here, because I started building a team before the Red Book came out, right? So I hired a buyer's agent first because I had too many buyers. Right?
Yeah.
Only to realize that, now I became the assistant, and realizing that there is a system and a path to go build these businesses is really a phenomenal opportunity, because at the end of the day, people have lived before you. Whatever it is you want to accomplish, somebody has probably already done it.
Yep. And there's no sense in recreating the wheel. I remember one of my favorite quotes someone ever said to me, and I cannot remember who it is, and they had repeated it, and it was a famous quote from somewhere else, is some of us learn from other people's mistakes, and some of us are the other people. Meaning we're the ones that are going to make the mistake that other people will hopefully learn from. And that's just it, is if we could cut that learning curve that people like me, people like you, Bruce, suffered through in these earlier days, if we can cut that learning curve in half and saying, you can run a really great sales team and be a rock star real estate agent and build an amazing business through people, it's like the sweet spot, right? And we see so many can either do one or the other, but it's rare that we see it come together because we're constantly in this game of catching up here and catching up here and catching up here. Our goal is to lower that learning curve. So this just becomes part of our everyday and every week routine of learning how to lead, manage, develop, and pour into other people so that they're successful in our world.
Well, Liz, you've sworn to secrecy here in terms of some upcoming awesome value adds from KW Talent until family reunion. But having said that, what are you most excited about when you think about the future? Maybe it's something for you. Maybe it's something for the community that you've built. What gets you most excited right now as you look out on the horizon?
Honestly, to create opportunities where people can thrive. So many really great people don't necessarily get the really great opportunities in this world because they don't have the right environment to make it happen. And that's not a right or a wrong thing. It's just a lack of awareness thing on everybody's parts. Our goal is that every team in Keller Williams can create an opportunity for anybody to thrive inside of, right? This is where entrepreneurs thrive. This is also where people should thrive in businesses, having businesses, building businesses, whatever they want. And that all happens through the development of people, 100% through people.
Love that.
And so if we can be the absolute destination where people reach their goals inside and outside of teams, that would make me very happy.
Oh, that's awesome. Based on what you know today, if you were to go back and talk to your younger self getting into real estate, what advice would you give?
The Red Book doesn't lie. You don't know better than it. And listen to the coaches, listen to the mentors, follow the models, and don't give up so early. Right? Myself included. It was, I've been doing this for 3 weeks. Where's the result? Stick with it for another 3 months, and then we can have a conversation about when to expect results, right? If I was to go back and talk to my younger self, it truly would be, don't try to outsmart things that have made people billions of dollars before you. I'm not smarter than them, and I don't need to be. I just need to do what they told me to do, how they told me to do it, and then seek the coaching and the advice and the training from everywhere I can that's in my world. Because there's no shortage of it here. It's really that simple. There's no recreating the wheel.
Wow.
Because I as well, Bruce, tried to buck the system that I knew better. And it bit me every time. Every time I shorted the CV process, it bit me. Every time I hired out of order, it bit me. Every time I thought I knew where a better return on investment would be than the tried and true database, it bit me. We don't need to try to recreate it.
We could drop the mic right there because that's great advice. Well, Liz, I got to tell you, this has been a real treat for us, and I know for our listeners. You dropped a bucket load of wisdom on us. And I just want to say to anybody out there who may be interested in KW Talent, we'll have links in the show notes. Liz, you've made a difference in a lot of people's lives. You've impacted mine, and I'm sure Chase's as well. And we just want to say thank you so much. We really appreciate you.
Humbled from this side, Bruce. I remember being a wee little agent joining, and I'm like, Bruce Hardy's amazing. I'm like, can I go to his class? He's teaching at Family Reunion and going to all of the classes. So I was right there with you. We learned.
Oh, shucks.
Thanks, Liz. That was awesome.
A little flattery back for you there.
After a short message, Bruce and I break down all the lessons from today's interview.
Ladies and gentlemen, The Real Look is supported by Keller Williams Luxury. Known for their distinct approach to real estate, Keller Williams Luxury has a reputation built around tailored experiences, loyal clientele, and success stories beyond compare. With Keller Williams Luxury selling more luxury real estate than any other company, these agents truly stand in a class of their own. Explore the opportunities of becoming a Keller Williams Luxury agent at luxury.kw.com today. That was a cool conversation, Chase. What were some of your takeaways?
It was part of the story that Liz shared, Bruce, that kind of showed up time and time again. And then ultimately she wrapped that story into her kind of advice for her younger self. And that was ultimately just submitting to the models, submitting to the coaches and mentors, not recreating the wheel. There's so many times I look back at my career and that resonates with what Liz said, that I thought, oh, I know a better way, or, it can't be that easy, or, that sounds too hard. I'll try something different. And I look back at all those times, just like Liz shared, I think, gosh, if I just would have listened to those that went before me. The way she shared it, I thought was really good. Don't outsmart things from people who have made billions before you. And yet we do that over and over. So incredible advice, and certainly something that Liz has modeled out for us.
Yeah, I agree with you. The concept in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, right, is build your business on foundational models. And only after you've mastered those models do you get to add your creativity, right? And of course, that's a challenge in our industry, is because we're all creative people, right? And we want to be creative. Oh, you know what? I bet I can improve that model. Well, not until you've mastered it do you get to even try.
Yep.
No, I thought that was outstanding. One of the things I loved about this conversation with Liz was the idea that, there are so many opportunities inside of this industry beyond selling houses. And I'm not going to say just selling houses, because I think selling houses is a noble pursuit, by the way. I mean, we get to change the lives and impact families. Oh my gosh, it's so incredible. And yet, if you have a passion for, in Liz's terms, right, it was teaching, and then ultimately discovering coaching. And by the way, you can make a lot of money as a coach, yep. Right? It's not a lesser profession by any stretch of the imagination. And the other thing that I think is really amazing, and as we get to have these conversations with coaches, is what they learn as well. Going through that process with their clients is outstanding.
Yeah, it really is, Bruce. And here is Liz on this journey now of creating this community for what she described as one of the common problems in business, which is the people problem. And maybe it's better said as the people challenge, but I think what she's sharing is so true. And we've all experienced, if we've worked to achieve any level in business, we know that finding great people is something that can be a challenge. Attracting those people to your organization and vision, also a challenge. Setting that person on the right path and supporting them and succeeding, a challenge. Retaining those people and creating opportunities for your best people such that you're in business with them for a long time, another challenge. And so here she is now taking some of these solutions that she's uncovered from years of working with top people and her own track record and putting it into a community to pursue supporting these business owners in that people challenge. I think that is so cool, Bruce, and ultimately something that can bring so much benefit to those that maybe are feeling stuck around that particular challenge in their business. And without a doubt, Liz has the pedigree and track record of being an incredible leader of that community. So super excited about what they're doing and what they're going to be doing heading into the future, and grateful to get to talk with her about that.
You know, as she was sharing that, Chase, one of the things that was going through my mind was one of the concepts that we teach in Quantum Leap, and it's the 5 relationships of a wealthy person. And what you understand when you actually understand that model is that these relationships matter. In fact, nobody ever truly succeeds alone. And if you're going to achieve your greatest potential, you're going to have to do it with people. To have this community and have Liz leading this community, I think is such a gift to everyone inside of our ecosystem. Nobody ever truly succeeds alone. Next week's Northern Lights guest is Matthew Ray with Keller Williams Portland Central in Portland, Oregon. We'll see you next week on The Real Look. This episode was produced by Marissa Frost. Make sure you subscribe to the show on Apple Podcast, or if you're an Android user, check us out on Spotify. If you like the show, please recommend it to a friend. Thanks for listening to The Real Look. We'll be back next week with a breakdown of all things real estate.